So good morning, everyone. My name is Syya,
And I'm Erin Gregor.
and this is the Afterglow Recap Podcast, where we recap the weekly Global Leaders Organization Speaker Series. This week, we had the privilege of talking to Mr. Ford Saeks, who shared with us how to increase your digital footprint and reevaluate how you represent yourself. Particularly, the example he was able to do with us was look at your website, starting with your website. So, on that note, we're thrilled to have our featured GLO member this week. Her name is Leslie Flores, the co-owner, let's try this again, CEO and founder of Moments by Design. Welcome, Leslie.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's always so much fun to take copious notes and then think about it and talk about it. So before we kick off, and I know you're going to have a lot of opinions about Ford, but help us understand, Leslie, who are you? What is Moments by Design, and why did you join GLO?
So many things there to kind of unpack. So Moments by Design, we are actually a custom curated themed party in a box, but we kind of do it differently than everybody else. We actually create all of our own designs. We manufacture in the US, and we're the only really sustainable party company out there. So all of our cups and plates are dishwasher safe, so your party never has to stop. Kind of a random starting there, decades worth of work in commercial real estate and finance, and decided to just kind of move away from that, and helping people have fun and create moments was a heck of a lot more fun than dealing with all the stress of those worlds.
Okay, but you've got a little story behind that. So exactly why would you address these stressors, if you will?
Well, I'm a New Year's Eve baby, so partying is just part of my world and part of my life. And my husband originally, when I had first kind of left corporate, decided that he was going to throw my birthday party that year. And wow, let's just say my husband has many positives. Throwing a party, not so much one of them. So I ended up running all over the Metroplex, trying to get everything together at the last minute, and was just like, this is why we stopped entertaining, because I was on a plane always, and it's a lot of work to actually put together a great party that people want to be at and want to remember. And I looked for an easier way. There kind of were other solutions, but they were just box solutions that it was basic, right? You and everybody else could kind of get it. There was no customization features. There was no sustainability, which I think, is a big thing for people right now, and it should be. So figured out how, if I could do any of those things and put it in a box, and turns out I could. So figured I'd run full steam ahead, and GLO's been amazing to work with. You guys were kind of instrumental in bringing me to some of my clients' base, which was why I kind of joined. I needed a outreach point that I could actually, now being a solopreneur, I don't have, this whole mess of people that I'm able to rely on, that I'm able to throw ideas off of. And so GLO was a really great way for me to kind of meet with other like-minded business owners, people that are dealing with the same struggles, have actually gone through them and been successful with it. So I'm not having to go through the same learning pains. So yeah, GLO has been amazing for me. Highly recommend it.
So, it's so funny. You just mentioned a couple things here from the lessons. And Erin, I think you and I can relate to this, is lesson number one of all leadership, whether it's corporate or entrepreneurial, whatever have you, is understand your team's strengths and weaknesses. Don't give people tasks if it's not their strength. So, hey, because of your poor leadership skills, young lady, you launched a business as a result.
True story.
So, okay, so let's talk about this, because, you have an e-commerce business for all intents and purposes, right? So your business is predominantly 100% online, and your services, your product is shipped, right? There's no brick and mortar necessarily, right? So I guess let's talk about this, because Ford Saeks probably should have been something I would imagine, eaten up. So he is a renowned speaker. He is a founder of Get Profits Rich. Did I say that right? Oh my gosh, Get Profits Rich. So he talks about, looking at your digital footprint, for example. So Erin, we actually had Ford at our February kickoff in Dallas.
which was great.
Which was great, right? So, Erin, let me ask you: when the time you saw him in February, and then seeing him online, did you have any change in impression, and what was your impression initially?
So before we begin, I'm going to have everybody learn a very good lesson in mics. See, your computer mic is picking up, so switch it out. I just sent you a message, but you'll be able to hear the difference for those.
OMG, I cannot believe this is me of all people.
Anyway, I was like, should I tell her? I'm like, no, it'd actually be good to hear. But anyway, Ford, great presentation. Loved him back in February. I thought what I like too is just how he gives immediate feedback. And a lot of what he talks about isn't huge revelations, but always very timely, where maybe you pick up a couple things of things you're going to implement. You know, what we talked about in February, very similar stuff, but kind of when you're in a different perspective of your business, there's new things you learn. So I enjoy him. He's got a lot of great insight. And I know a lot of what he talks about, but I still learn a lot.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And now I'm all self-conscious. Can you guys hear me better now?
No, it's so much.
Oh my God.
This is a huge lesson for people though. All these people just use their laptop mic and use it as a lesson. That's a huge difference in sound.
Absolutely. So if you are looking to do a podcast, total aside, there is a big difference. Invest in some equipment, you guys. It's worth it. It's not a huge level investment, but it does give you a better overall product. So speaking of better overall product, so Leslie, what was your first takeaway or main takeaway with Ford's discussion yesterday?
So many takeaways, you know, but one of the big ones for me was how exactly am I adding value to my clients, right? Which again, to me, there's so many, you know, there's a lot of competition in my marketplace, right? I mean, I decided to become a startup in a multi-billion-dollar, you know, area that's ruled by China. So a lot of competition, but for me, it's so different because it's how do I add that value? You know, how are we creating custom stuff? How are we being sustainable? How are we creating manufacturing jobs here in the States? So, you know, we've been fortunate. We've kind of, again, you know, and I know everybody, this is kind of the buzzword of the moment, but pivoted, right? But with just kind of, yes, creating virtual graduation party boxes. You know, we've been doing virtual baby showers where we're sending out, instead of sending you one box, we're sending out 20 boxes across the nation to everybody, right? So just how we're adding value to kind of create those moments, which I think is, I mean, you need it all the time, but especially right now is a really great thing for people to focus on.
Absolutely. I think any little positivity goes a long way in this time, right? So you had a great client in UT Southwestern Medical, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because, you know, again, we're talking about digital footprint, and how were you discovered? Did they find you as a result of searching the web for you, or was there something else that went on that augmented their experience to find you?
So kind of the way, going back to, you know, Ford's, hey, effective digital footprints, right? They actually Googled kind of like a party in a box, because now they were having to do all of their graduations virtual, and they didn't know where to even start with that. So they kind of just Googled party in a box, and we came up. We were very fortunate. Dallas Business Journal had done a feature on us earlier in the year. And so that came up, and they were just like, oh my gosh, yes, here we go, solution. Had a great phone call with them, and we just kind of rolled right on out.
Nice. So one thing that he mentioned, you guys, was, again, the need for digital. You need to have a strategy that includes a website, right? But you also need additional areas like, you can't just put up a website and expect people to find you. So Erin, this is something that I'm still learning and trying to master. So he was talking about SEO, search engine optimization. What does that exactly mean? Because I think in my head I know what it means, but what does SEO actually mean?
Basically the ability, hopefully, I know Pam said my mic was working, so hopefully it's a little louder, but it's the ability for people to find you through search terms, right? So people are looking for specific things, and does your site come up when they search for those? And you want to be able to do some research to find what people are looking for, and you want to be able to set those keywords at a site level. And then obviously evolving content is everything, and you've got to be Google rewards those who create stuff on a daily basis. If you're just sitting there with your site stagnant, you're going to go lower to the search terms. So it's really important that your content aligns with the keywords you're saying you represent, right? If you put, if you're trying to put keywords and somebody comes to your site and they go off right away because you're not what you say you are, again, Google watches all of that. So you want to make sure people are going there, they're staying there, and they're engaging with your content. And the more that they do, the more you'll be shown at the top of the ranks in searches.
Got it. So there's a weird ring going on. I can't tell if it's Leslie or Erin's, but every now and then we're getting some weird feedback. Just an FYI, guys. So I'm not quite sure what it is. It's a ringing sound.
I don't know.
It could be, I don't know. It's live. We'll go with it. So here's the funny thing is so he did an interesting little technique to look at your website. So first thing he looked at was security level. I thought everyone knew to check for that, but I didn't realize how many websites are actually wide open and insecure. So both of you guys, Leslie, particularly since you are taking money and doing processing, etc., were you aware to look at your URL and see if there was a secure lock in that corner?
Yep. So we actually, because of the fact that we do process credit cards, we have, SSLs are certificates. We have extra added encryption on our website to ensure. And I mean, we get a report pretty much on a weekly basis of, yes, it is crazy how many cyber attacks are actually being diverted because of our encryption levels and everything else and the keys that we have. But yeah, and I mean, I guess for some people, if they're doing a service level, they're maybe not necessarily going to need the SSL stuff and all the encryption that we have on our backend site because we are doing all the credit card processing. But it's definitely something that I know, even if on my phone, it won't actually let me go to the site because it tells me hey, this actually isn't a protected site.
Oh, that's true. And you definitely don't want your brand to be affiliated with that, especially if you're doing commerce, right?
Yep.
Well, I think anything, I mean, if you get blocked, even if you are just services, but if you're collecting emails, every site should be collecting emails. You should be collecting something. You should have security on it.
True. So let's talk about this then. Okay. So you said, so there's 4 major goals for businesses, obviously seeking out more customers, finding customers that will spend money with you, come back repeat clients and referrals. And then I thought it was interesting because the first 3 are all about, clients, right? The 4th one was operational efficiencies. So from a digital perspective, I guess I was trying to understand is what does he mean by being more efficient from a digital footprint? Erin, I think it was something, I guess, to help me kind of go down this, what we're talking about is the digital footprint to increase SEO. Maybe is that what he was trying to say for operational efficiencies digitally?
I don't remember that part. I'm sorry, but I would guess too, how clunky do you make it for your customers on your site? Is it where you're, I see companies make this problem all the time where you're not efficient at all on your website. I can't understand what the hell you do. You're trying to give me everything and the kitchen sink. And it's no, just get it clear. Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? How easy is it for me to contact you? I would think those would fall under the operation. If your site looks difficult to navigate, I'm going to assume very bad things about your company if you can't even make your site right. So I would think there'd be some efficiencies from that perspective. That would be a guess, but I don't know for sure if that's what everything he was talking about.
Right. So one thing he put we had 2 focus and they happened to be Dallas members. Daniel, I know you're on. So what's up? Ford does this exercise called the hot seat. He actually looks at your website and tries to determine the value of or tries to understand what value you're representing for your business, and also what the heck your business is, right? So as you said, Erin, if someone has to like look around 4 different places to figure out what you do or what this business does, that's probably not the most efficient footprint that you're putting out there. So on that note, then he said part of the growth strategy is looking at 3 major things: message, market, and method. So let's switch gears and let's talk about the message. So as you said, Erin, he mentioned ultimately your message should answer the why, the end result and benefit, not the feature. So I'm going to ask you, Leslie, how did that resonate with you for Moments by Design?
So it's so relevant. I mean, if you look at even how people pitch, right? You've got the storyboard pitches and everything. I know a lot of how we do it, the message is, yes, your why, but it's your benefits, both your economic and your emotional. We tend to go towards more of the emotional and telling the story of, hey, instead of running around to 15 different places to throw a party, spend your time with your kids and your family, and we'll take care of everything else and just send it straight to your door. So for us, that whole emotional aspecting of the messaging is so important because it defines who we are and why you should use us. Because we only have a limited amount of time. It's the one thing in the entire wide world I can't make more of.
That's true. And there you go, is you're not talking about, hey, here's a plate and here's a cup. You're not selling that per se. Yeah. You're actually selling the overall experience. Erin, you've had so many businesses in very different industries. How did that message resonate with you, talking about end result, benefit versus the features?
I think it's so important because we do get caught up in the shiny objects of our business, which are cool to us. It's almost like designers, right? When they create a ton of features, I don't give a crap what these features are. How do they actually apply to me, and how do they solve the problem? And we have to always remember that as we're creating any sort, social content, whatever. How does this create an end result, and what's that end result for that's all anyone cares about. What's in it for me? I don't care how many steps it takes to get there. I don't care if it's 2 or 3. What's ultimately going to happen at the end? And we always have to focus on that. But as business owners, we tend to really love, to talk about the things that may not matter because they're cool to us, but the customer could care less.
That's true. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I sold technology for many moons, and I can tell you, it took a lot, and it still takes a lot for people to understand not to talk speeds and feeds, right? No one cares about the server in your, data center.
It's not the sexy thing to talk about.
It's easier said than done because you know intuitively, like, oh, but I know all about this, right? And you're thinking you're sharing something, and in actuality, you've lost everybody, right? So, okay, the next bullet point with market. I like this one. So he said market is the oh golly gee, know who your target prospect is. It's the who. So when you said, Leslie, that, okay, this is not going to work for us, you cannot throw a party on New Year's Eve and not have decorations or not have food more than, chips and salsa. Who did you target initially, and who are you targeting then? Who is this for?
So our targets, we're pretty precise in who we're going after. So we kind of have 3 demographics that we look at. Our primary client is a female, and she's generally within the ages of 35 to about 55. Most are well within the 85,000 plus as far as income level. And we're looking for type A. Like, we went and kind of did a deep dive analysis on personality. And so, yes, we did all those demos and we got all the statistics as far as like where they are, how they live. But for us, it was about who they are. Mm-hmm. And we were looking for kind of, yes, these type A people, the people that are the life of the party, the people that want to have fun, the people that were, hey, okay, I'm super busy. And again, I value my time. I still want it to look amazing, but I value my time. And I know that either I can do this, or I can go to the gym, or I can go run around and get some party decorations. I can spend countless hours on Pinterest, or I can actually spend time with my family. And so that's kind of who we targeted. We've targeted the professionals really, and both on the male side and the female side. You know, we've got a lot of younger males, which are a demo for us, that are getting into management, that are throwing their corporate events, that are doing their own personal parties, but aren't married. And so don't really, kind of the way my poor husband didn't know how to throw a party, they're in that same boat. So we're targeting them. Single dads have been a great target for us. You know, they're still wanting to show their kids these amazing parties, but again, they're a little bit time strapped. Some of them just don't necessarily have that skill set. And so they're another one of our demo targets for us.
Got it. And that I love the way you're able to articulate this. That means you've done research and you studied it and you looked at it. I'm not going to lie to you, Erin and I, when we first launched Innovation Media, like we just figured all businesses want to do podcasts. It's easy. It's simple. And then when we actually started digging down deep and really started looking at really who is putting out content and why is it valuable to them, the answer is still everybody should want to do this, but we had to refine, you know, the audience and who are, you know, is it business to business, or is it possibly, you know, we partner up with agencies, et cetera. Erin, last part that Ford had mentioned is the method. It's the how, it's the execution, it's the rubber meets the road. So how does one enhance, you know, growth strategy through the digital footprint?
Well, you have to align all of them. So I think it's also important to understand too, just on the message, like you can have the same product, but it's really important that if there's two different user groups, your message is entirely different. So it can align, but the benefits to, you know, person A may be entirely different to person B, and you have to really be able to communicate that. And then your method is going to depend too. If you're not a B2B, probably not the best place to be hanging out on LinkedIn, right? Like your method should be something different. If you've got a really young crowd, you know, I know people selling products to teens, TikTok, just killing it on TikTok. So you have to be aware of where your customer hangs out, because you can't just be, okay, because everybody's here. No, not everybody is here. You have to really know your demographic and use the correct method to get the message across and find that perfect person.
That's true. Awesome. So, so Leslie, what did you think on the, when he was talking about, this little trick he does, you guys? I didn't even think about this, where you click on into the browser, you type site : and your website to see how you're actually pulling up on Google or Google search yourself. Have you guys ever tried that before?
So no, actually, I didn't even know about that. And I mean, to me, this is one of those things as a first-time entrepreneur, one of the reasons why an organization like GLO is so helpful, because I don't know everything. I know very few things about a very limited amount of areas, and website development is definitely not one of them. But to see that and to see like, oh my gosh, here's actually how our SEO is coming up, you know, or we've got the same page headers for every single thing. So we're not really doing ourselves any favors on SEO. I mean, that was huge to see.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at, I remember like texting Erin. I was like, we're not popping up as much as I thought we would be. And she's like, I know. And I'm like, darn it, there's work we have to do. It's
always more.
But I think this is where that combination of, for us, we think social media is such king, right? Content is king. And that's the last bullet point we'll be talking about here. But even just the traditional blogging, right? Like updating your website to ensure that, you know, the correct information is all there. I find we sometimes get excited by the shininess of social media and not realize you still have to do traditional. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you have to realize social media will drive them to your website. That's ultimately what social media should be doing. Yes, followers are great, but the problem is when you only rely on social media, you are at the mercy of the rules of the social media platform. I mean, you've seen it with LinkedIn. You posted a video 2 years ago, everyone saw it. It's slowly changing. It's not as easy. So you ultimately always have to have that home site that you have ownership of, that you're driving people, that you can track the pixels, that you can see who's, and then be able to remarket and do that. But ultimately your home site should always be your everything. Like that's what you should want to drive to. So when the rules change, it doesn't, yeah, you have to work differently, but it's not going to kill you. I mean, I saw businesses destroyed by Facebook algorithms change.
Oh, I'm telling you, Erin, I think, well, LinkedIn is actually doing an update too. I just missed a great conversation. I'll give a shout out to Jeremy Siegel, who is a fellow podcaster, and he actually did a LinkedIn Live yesterday, and I just missed it, unfortunately. But apparently there's going to be some changes afoot with LinkedIn as well. Okay, guys. So question. So he said, so content you can create, you can borrow it, and you can buy it. So create. What is he talking about? He's talking about blogs, podcasts, and he mentioned podcasts for us, Erin, video, etc. I think that's straightforward. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, on the create part?
I mean, I really kind of liked the way that he said that it should be timely, topical, and relevant. You know, I mean, because I think that sometimes we get away from that because, yes, we kind of go back to what we feel is shiny and not necessarily what our clients are looking at as the shiny thing.
I think you have a point on that.
Yeah. And to me, I think content should never be a selling point. Content should be something that's useful and helpful and answers questions, and it will naturally lead to a sale when done correctly.
That's true. And I think that goes back to, as we were all been talking about, is especially now with the pandemic, it's about building relationships and having people get to know who you are, such that when the time comes and they have a service or a need for you or a product need, they will already identify you as a credible person to do business with. So here's the other one I thought was interesting. He said, okay, so about content, you again going create, borrow. I didn't think about this, but I don't think we do this more. I don't think we do this enough. He said borrowing influence from one another. He used GLO as an example. Him being a speaker on the weekly Global Leaders Organization speaker series. You guys, what do you think about that as far as borrow the influence of others and leveraging it to benefit you?
That I just did a video on that on LinkedIn about using other people's content. Like, why reinvent the wheel? And yes, it'd be great to be on somebody's podcast, but one way, like if you're not on their radar, like share their stuff and give your opinion on it. Say, hey, I like this post. I didn't like this post. One of the biggest way, a lot of people think you need to come up with original content, but to make yourself look smart on social is by sharing other smart people's stuff. It's not about having to rewrite it. So if you are that person who's giving great content, maybe from others, from other sources, you look like the genius too. It doesn't have to be just from you.
I think there's that fallacy too as an entrepreneur that we're supposed to be the gurus and experts of everything. I find that term expert is extraordinarily misleading. I almost feel like it's like almost wiser to say a constant student.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or, I'm a professional student of this industry, I guess. I would think that's a little bit more attractive. But then I think I like what you said, Erin. If you're going to do social media, understand that it is an interaction. It's a community building. You have to post. Yes, we do it because people have to find who you are, right? But you can like other people's posts, comment. I think that's probably one of the trickiest things about people who are saying social media is failing them is they're saying, well, I'm posting all the time and have 0 followers. It's because they are not giving themselves as well. Leslie, do you agree?
I totally agree. I mean, we've been able to get some great traction because of the fact that we've engaged with other people, and reciprocity goes a long way, and I especially think in organizations where like GLO and with just entrepreneurs, there is a lot of reciprocity where, hey, let's help build each other, right? A rising tide brings all ships up, not just me. So kind of goes back to that.
It's one of my favorite phrases of all time. Oh my gosh, I just realized it's 10:30. So Dan LeBron made a great point. I love this, is he doesn't have time to create original content. So for him, it's easier to interact and share other people's content because you're right, Erin. It's already out there. It's easier to share and also provide, a call back for that originator of that content. So last thing is, you know what? there's 4 other bullet points that we could talk about that I think we could take offline. And if you are interested in learning more of the additional points that Ford Saeks had, you guys, to sign up for GLO, you can sign up for free as a basic member. There's no cost to you, and you get access to the membership page. Of course, it gets somewhat limited as you become a full member or a premium member. Premium member gives you access to the local chapter. So here, Erin and I are the Dallas chapter chairs of GLO. So if there is no chapter in your area, you could actually reach out and become your chapter leader, or just join full premium and you have access to online content, very similar to what we're doing here on GLO and After GLO podcast, and talk about that. So if you want to learn more about GLO, go to withglo.com. Leslie, it was such a pleasure to have you. For those that want to learn about you and also want to go to Moments by Design, how can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of us at momentsbydesign.com. All of our info is on there, and you can follow along on Insta and Facebook too.
Excellent. Erin, do you have any final thoughts for today's speaker, Ford Saeks?
I do not. No, very good. I mean, he's always really great. So very happy about it.
Absolutely. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the After GLO Live Recap Podcast. Thank you everyone that has been communicating with us. We'll definitely catch up. And of course, thank you, Leslie Flores of Moments by Design, for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.